That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
The official 9/11 videos looked like this. They make much more sense with the airplane removed. We see a tower exploding. The wall doesn't break inwards, it explodes outwards.
I just want to say, for my relationship with President Trump, relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him, or I believe I may have, because of my father in the 90s.
Yep. Okay.
So my father liked him very much, and he really liked his wife as well, because they were both Czechoslovakian. And as far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me, and I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him.
I think that the system is corrupt. Every time I'm walking on the streets, somebody's like, hey, vote for so-and-so. I'm like, it's all corrupt. Anarchy is the only way we're going to change anything. Violence. Kill a politician. That's the only way you can change shit.
Prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks.
I like turtles.
You know, right-wing media ecosystems and people just really like that sort of, you know, content in media.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's the whole like anti-vax thing.
A real man doesn't drink milk in his coffee. How about a real man's gonna fucking break a coffee cup over your stupid bitch face? What do you think about that? A real man throw coffee in your face?
Hey, I'll speak Spanish, you little fucking little cocksucker.
You know what? They did the Brighter Days memory erasure treatment to me, so I'm having trouble remembering the details. They're foggy because at the Brighter Days clinic they do the memory erasure, you know?
It's cultural swine, bitch. Now where's the blow?
What's going on? What's going on? What a start to 2026. What a banger of a fucking start already. Oh my god. I hope everyone's doing well, having a good new year so far, staying true to whatever resolutions you've set forth for yourself. You know, being honest, being healthier, being better. Cause God knows if we don't fucking stick to our shit, the people running the country are definitely already failing at whatever they told us they were going to do for 2026 or anything else. And yeah, I mean, don't feel too bad if you fucking you know, have a short relapse on whatever you were trying to resolve this year, whether it's gooning, drinking, smoking, I don't know, whatever it is, lifting more, eating less, you know, all the typical bullshit, be a nicer person, blah, 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 blah. Don't feel too bad if you don't do, if you're not perfect on your New Year's resolution, because the amount of fraud and scumminess and just vile debauchery that's going on within the, you know, realms of the people that govern us and make our rules and write our policies. Yeah, they've become so scum that you have no worries about failing to carry out your New Year's resolution. Even though you should still try if you're still doing good, but if you fall short or you're not doing as well as you expected, don't feel too bad. Don't feel too bad, because your leaders let in foreigners that, you know, steal your tax money. They commit, you know, the crimes that are committed are not always violent, but sometimes they are. But they work against you. So don't feel too bad. Don't feel too bad about yourself. But yeah, hope everyone's having a good, you know, start to the 2026 year. My year's been all right. The weather's a little weird. Bill Gates is really, really letting that geoengineering, he's really letting it cause a lot of rainfall here in Arizona. So I guess we'll salute that. Thanks for the heavy metals and the chemtrails and what chemicals are in those trails. Thanks for putting that in the water supply and the food supply and, raining it down on everyone. Yeah, God, shit sucks. But yeah, the U.S. in 2026, we got Venezuela. We take over Venezuela. Maduro's out, which is just a whole weird situation in itself. I don't know. He seemed. I mean, the way he's dressed. I mean, it's a fucking. It's a. I mean, it's drip. Maduro's got drip for sure. But I don't know. It's just so weird that he's dressed like that. He's giving thumbs up. He's chilling with the the DEA and, the Delta Force guys that got him. He just seems very relaxed about the whole situation. I don't know if that's just because he's a savage and he's like that. He's been trained to do it maybe, or, prepare for it. But it just seems like a little bit of this might have been scripted. I have no clue. Everyone's saying it's because of the oil. Well, now Trump and this whole administration is saying it's because of the fucking oil. So now they're going to go, well, it is a little bit about the oil, but maybe not fully. But since the retards thought that was the bigger picture, let's just make them feel like they're right. And I'm not saying everyone's a retard. I'm just saying I don't know if oil is the biggest player or factor in why this whole regime change takeover happened. And I'm not saying Maduro's a good guy. I mean, he seems like he was a dictator, authoritarian dictator. They call him a narco-terrorist, but I don't know what you would call the CIA then in the 80s. Or, I mean, just like any intelligence agency at this point. But he's a narco-terrorist by our definition. And he's also an authoritarian dictator, not good. The people were protesting against him. They were in the streets. Lots of the Venezuelans are happy about this, I guess. But I don't think they're ready for who we're about to put in. I don't know. It has real Libya, Syria, all these Iraq type vibes around it, where a nation is not. I mean, Venezuela wasn't prospering, but they were sitting on this huge reserve of oil, and well, I mean, if they could figure out how to get it out of the ground and maybe up their technology in a way that they can be self-sufficient without a third party, which is us or another superpower like China or Russia, then maybe they can start to prosper and dig themselves out of the hole that they might have been in. Maybe. That's a maybe. But it seems like every time that a country that we know is valuable in, many regards, whether it's oil or, maybe they're a threat if you don't kind of institute a regime change. So they're not valuable, but they might constitute a threat by not kind of being reliant on the U.S. or somehow in some type of working relationship with the U.S., given they're in South America and on the Western Hemisphere. And so that's what basically happened. I mean, I don't know if they were, I'm not going to compare Maduro to Gaddafi, because what Gaddafi was doing was actually very prosperous. That country was thriving, or on its way to start thriving. I wouldn't say the same for Venezuela, but what I would say for Venezuela is they're valuable in the resources they have, which they don't necessarily have the technology to extract those resources and utilize them, which would necessitize us, but I'm sure they could figure that out with the help of, maybe funding to do research or just bring in another country. So they are valuable in the sense of the oil aspect, which we love to go and just fuck shit up in other countries, regime change it, and then fucking take their oil. We also love taking their drugs, which is why it's weird they defined Maduro as a narco-terrorist, because the first thing they did after lying about weapons of mass destruction in Afghanistan is right after they finished, their initial bombings and takeover of the oil, they also immediately took control of the poppy fields, the opium. So I don't know if it's necessarily hypocritical, in my opinion it is, to call Maduro and the Venezuelan regime a narco-terrorist state when the first thing we did in Afghanistan was take full control of the opium fields. We should have just burned them down then if we're so against drugs. But that's another topic. So yeah, I think what happened in Venezuela is a little weird. I think I think some acting might have been going on with this whole, what should I say, takeover of Venezuela, and getting Maduro, going in and getting Maduro out and having him in our custody, let's say. It's weird. I don't know. Like I said, he seemed really relaxed with it. He's got a drippy ass outfit on. I don't know. It just seems some of it just seems very staged, and some of it seems a little real. Maybe the bombs and maybe any innocent civilians that were killed, real. But maybe the whole photo op that they did, where he's with all the Delta Force dudes and agents that picked him up, giving his thumbs up, that looks a little staged. That looks a little weird to me. But then you got to think about it. Yeah, they want to tell us it's the oil. Well, that's just, it is about the oil. We'll definitely, utilize that aspect of this takeover and regime change for sure. For sure, it's going to make us a lot of money. But you got to think about the other aspect of it, which is, Big Brother, or should we call them Big Daddy, over in Israel, who definitely don't want a Maduro-ran country at all. And the reason for that is because Maduro, if you listen to his speeches, they're in Spanish, but if you get a translator or some subtitles, you'll see that he was calling out Israel for everything that will get you canceled or called anti-Semitic here in the U.S. He, I think he was bringing up the third temple, meaning that they need everyone to turn against them to fulfill the prophecy that is in their Bible or their biblical text. Not only that, he was not acknowledging what's going on in Gaza as a war, but rather a, ethnic cleansing, a genocide, which I would agree with. I think most people in the U.S. that aren't in the governing body agree with that. He had some very staunch and, what should we say, I don't want to call it based because that word's just getting fucking gay, but he had some very nuanced opinions about our greatest ally, and what his opinions were actually supported by factual evidence. And actually, what he was, spouting out in his speeches about our greatest ally is very similar to what a lot of the public in the U.S. feels as well. Now, that doesn't mean he's a good guy, Maduro. I'm just saying he had some very, very unpopular opinions regarding Israel that would have, caused Israel to, maybe call the shot, or, call in the U.S. to do what they did and go in and get Maduro, put in someone else, and take over the country and use oil as the reason that you did it, since that seems to be the rumor going around. That's not the official narrative. Maybe we can give them something like that. But then you find out that Iran, these boys that are probably going to be next in this weird almost pre-World War III thing that's going on at the moment with China, Taiwan, and then you have Venezuela and our takeover that we just carried out. And then you also have Iran and Israel, which will include us as well. And then this will bring in China, Russia, the BRICS organizations or the BRICS countries, etc. Now, when you look at where Iran was manufacturing their weapons and getting their weapons from and all these other military technologies, they were doing it through Venezuela, manufacturing them, importing them from Venezuela, etc. So not only is Maduro talking shit about Netanyahu, Israel, and the greater Israel project in general, which is all very, very valid in my opinion, but also his country is the one that's manufacturing weapons and other military technologies to be sent to the number one rival or opponent right now in the Middle East against Israel. The last piece of the puzzle to take over the Middle East, Iran. So the oil makes a lot of sense. I get that. It makes a lot of sense, but it also makes sense that maybe Israel, because whenever Netanyahu comes to the U.S., instead of arresting him like we did Maduro, which we should have done, our government, our governing body, our president, Trumpy, good old Trumpy, just listens and does what he's fucking told. Netanyahu tells Trump, quiet piggy, go in and do what you're told. We still haven't seen the files. That's probably why they're doing what they're told. Epstein's most likely still alive. I hear that there's a guy in Julian Dory that just went on that's saying that he somehow was able to get into contact with the chefs that worked at Epstein's Island, and the chefs pretty much all believe he's still alive, and they have some other interesting things that they're now talking about that they saw regarding what was going on when they were working as the chefs on the island. So that's interesting. But yeah, so when Netanyahu comes over to the U.S. and doesn't get arrested for the almost, I guess, infinite amount of war crimes that he's committed, we actually are told by him to go commit war crimes, at the behest of Israel, which is weird. So we go and we take Maduro, we take him into our custody, which we could have done with Netanyahu and ended this whole thing, but that's not an option with any party in the U.S. regarding listening to Netanyahu or arresting him for war crimes. We seem to be all on the same page in our government about listening to what Netanyahu says and what Israel tells us to do, and what the greater, pretty much the whole of Israel is our greatest interest, even above ourselves at the moment, it seems. So it's not too far-fetched to say, yeah, there's oil there, but also Netanyahu just came over here. Trump, probably was pulling out the chair for him like they're on a fucking episode of Bachelorette, pulling out his chair for him, wiping off the fucking cushion so his ass stays clean. And, Trump's always that guy that will talk shit and, have some fiery comebacks, but not when daddy's in town, not when good old BB, not when BB's in town. So I think that, the oil is nice. It's going to be valuable. That's just an add-on, I think, and they're going to use it as an excuse for why they went. And then they'll say the drugs, which is all bullshit because they've only found marijuana on any of those boats that they've blown up. Even if they found any other drugs, cocaine, fentanyl, blah, 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 the only reason for blowing it up, in my opinion, it would be because now they pose a threat as a rival in the marketplace of drugs in our country, which is controlled by our intel agencies. Well, I mean, just blowing up the boat in general doesn't make sense. And now that we find that there's just no fucking, you're not finding cocaine, no fentanyl, no, no opiates, just they found some marijuana. They found some fucking weed. So that's weird. And then you look at this might be the reason. Since Venezuela is working with Iran to import, weapons and military technologies, which they also manufacture in Venezuela, that could be a reason that we went and did what we did, given that Netanyahu just showed up to the U.S. and every time he does, we're kind of taking orders. Our government starts running around like a bunch of puppies, taking orders so that their fucking video of them diddling and fucking and doing weird shit with kids doesn't get released. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Also, they go, well, Maduro's been talking shit essentially about the greater Israel project as a whole and Bibi Netanyahu as a leader. So there's another reason why we might have been told to do what we did. Israel is not going to go and all the way across the country or all the way across the globe and carry out a regime change and pick up Maduro and put him in their custody when their ally, the U.S., who's pretty much almost neighbors, on the in the Western Hemisphere, can do it for us, and they owe us a lot of shit. So that's my opinion on that. To be honest, it's weird. We shall see. We shall see. I mean, Venezuela wasn't doing good to begin with, but I don't know who they're going to put in. I mean, Marco Rubio. I have no clue who they're going to put in for Venezuela. It's just, I know the people might be happy that Maduro's out. He was, like I said, he was a dictator. He was not a good dude doing communist type shit over there. But I don't know who's going to be put in that's going to be any better for them. We'll see. Apparently the Venezuelans were in a position where if you couldn't afford anything, if you weren't rich, you essentially were fucked. And if you were a young person, you're going to have to join the military regardless if you have no money. And I don't know. I mean, that's probably true. I don't know. I haven't been there, so I can't really give an opinion on that. And then, I mean, to stick on like what's going on in the U.S. with this fraud and Minnesota situation. Minnesota seems to be like the center, the epicenter of fucking the scumminess and debauchery that the U.S. is experiencing. It seems to be like Minnesota is like this fucking tumor, and it just keeps releasing fucking parts of itself that spread throughout the United States, but there it's fucked up. Minnesota is fucked up. You have the fucking one mayor that was mayor during George Floyd that had the mask on at his casket, sobbing with snot coming out of his fucking mask over a body that he didn't even know. It's fucking despicable. And then now you have Tim Walz, who's likely a Chinese spy. Not likely, like is a Chinese spy. You don't just go to China as many times as he did, with the pay that he was getting at that time, and at the same time when he's going to China, military documents and blueprints for new military weapons and technologies like tanks don't go missing and then reappear once you get back to the U.S. It's just weird. So he had a relationship with a diplomat, a Chinese diplomat's daughter that we know about. Yeah, a lot of weird shit going on with Tim Walz, and this is just the latest thing, this Somali thing. But yeah, as pissed as we should be at the Somalis, because they come here and immediately they're okay with engaging in fraud. But what do you expect a third world country? What do you expect third world country inhabitants to act like when you invite them over to your country, pretty much give them everything they need to sustain themselves, a lot more than a lot of American citizens are getting at the moment. What do you expect them to do when they were engaging in this type of behavior already in their country? That's, run by warlords and voodoo witches and just primitive behavior. That's what their country is. That's where they're coming from. So to engage in something like the fraud with the daycare centers and whatever else they're involved with that's fraudulent, that's like child's play in their country. That's honestly, I mean, that might even be like, like respectable in their country to be doing. I mean, in their country, people are getting killed. Warlords run the country. People get eaten. People get sacrificed. They're doing voodoo rituals. Their literal leaders are warlords. I mean, so this is child's play to them if they're not told. I feel like that they're not supposed to be doing shit like this. I don't know. Some of them look confused as to what's going on with the Nick Shirley video when he's videotaping them and asking questions. And that might be because they don't even know what the fuck's going on. Like Billy and Spud from War Mode just talked about this on their last episode. And I kind of agree with Billy. I'm like, they might not know. A lot of them might not know what the fuck they're even doing. They were just told that they have this job and they got to go and just like chill there. They might not even be able to read the fucking sign of the company or business that they're working at, which is a daycare, childcare, learning center, whatever the fuck it is. And then I think some of them definitely are in on it and making money. I don't know. I have no clue. It's just, I don't know if they understand like the amount and degree of fraud that is going on in the places that they are working at, and they are the face of the employees and the people running these businesses. But when this is like a pretty sophisticated scheme, to be honest. $111 million was in one day. Nick Shirley found that 1 day or 2 days that they did that video, they found they unveiled $111 million worth of debt or worth of fraud, fraudulent transactions, blah blah blah. So I mean, it's a lot of fucking money, to be honest. And I don't know. I just think it would have been, I don't know. I think if a lot of them knew what they were doing, it would have been a little bit more prepared or even masked. They would have masked it a little bit better. Maybe at least have some kids there. I have no clue. But it gets weird when you look at where the money was getting sent to, which is this place called Somaliland, which is it's an area in Somalia or next to Somalia. I have no clue. That was receiving all of this money. And this was the first, I think this was the first African country, or I don't know, area, we'll say first African country that acknowledged Israel as a state and gave their support to Israel. So Israel might have even bought this place called Somaliland and might be using it to bring some of either their Jews over there, or I don't know what else they would be doing with it. Maybe funding these Somalia land citizens or residents, or I have no clue. And they might be using, if this is true, they might be using the Somalians in the U.S. to take the blame, to create a bad image of them, which might even make their going into Somalia easier, because if they have a bad image, we might end up giving support to our government to go into Somalia and do some scummy shit based on a narrative that was kind of orchestrated and manufactured for us to believe. So, I mean, when you look at how sophisticated this, I mean, I don't think these, I mean, I have no clue. I'm kind of with Billy. I'm like, they are the ones that are being recorded and are taking the blame for this and are the face of this fraudulent scandal that's going on with the daycares and childcares. But also, they don't seem like they are even capable of committing this type of this sophisticated of a fraudulent scam. Like it takes a little bit of knowing what's going on to carry this whole scam out. And $111 million was, funneled through this scam and went to a place called Somaliland. So I don't know. I think the blame might be getting thrown at the Somalians, which, I mean, it's hard to fault them, but come on, if they are just like oblivious to what's actually going on and what they're involved in, that's also their own fault. You're coming over here just, thinking, oh, we'll just do this and this and this, and then you get caught up in this. It's like, well, that is your own fucking fault. That's kind of fucking retarded of you guys to do. Or most of them or some of them know about it, and others might be oblivious, but the main face and the main factor, the main, group involved is not the one being blamed, which would be Israel, if this Somaliland information's right, and I think it is. So I have no clue. Nick Shirley's a little odd to me as well. I mean, I think he's a Mormon. I don't know if that's true. He seems like he's trained in what he's supposed to do, which is uncover a huge story that's true, where true crime and true fraud is going on, but to create a narrative as to who the perpetrators of this crime are. And he's done a damn good job of that. And, Tim Walz and the, governing body of Minnesota over the past decade has not helped, has only helped Nick Shirley's narrative even more. I mean, given that they've changed their flag to essentially a Somalian flag, they've brought in the most Somalis, they've put in Ilhan Omar and these individuals into positions of immense power of the state, essentially making it what people are calling Little Somalia. So that didn't help. It doesn't help that Tim Walz also is, a scumbag, faggot liar. He has never told the truth. We know about his Chinese affairs. That's sketchy. And who knows where that's even going to go. Then we have him lying about being a fucking varsity head coach for football. And he also lied about being an active duty member. He never fucking stepped foot on the ground on the battlefield. Lied about that. Essentially stolen valor. So I don't know. I mean, and then he has that whole thing with his fucking retarded kid where he goes, no, sometimes I just got to put him in his place. And the kid's a fucking dupe. So, I mean, definitely vaxxed that kid up to the max when he was born, I bet. He was probably chilling until they gave him the fucking, third round of vaxes and he started fucking, headbanging and toe walking and shit, asking fucking Papa Waltz for a sippy bottle of milk. But yeah, so that the whole governing body and the way that Minnesota has been run over the past decade has only helped the narrative that Nick Shirley has shaped and has pretty firmly shaped at this point. And people are pissed at the Somalians, and I think they have a right to be. But you can also be pissed at other people that might have been involved in this, not just the people with big old heads and a stupid ass language. These people too they just have big old noses and a stupid ass fucking language. But that's what I think. I mean, I don't know. I think the blame might be getting put on the Somalians, which is a narrative that was manufactured and carried out by Nick Shirley in his investigative journalism and the videos he put on YouTube. And the powers behind that, Nick Shirley, and even the powers behind the money that was being stolen from the taxpayers and going to God knows where, probably Somaliland, was our greatest ally, essentially. And, another piece of evidence would be that the people that uncovered and were, kind of started pointing out the fraud that was going on in Minnesota were Jewish. So they stood to benefit from revealing it, showing where the fraud is, because they knew that the narrative would be the Somalians are in complete and total control and 100% responsible for this scam and fraud that's going on. And all the while, the money that was stolen doesn't, stays where it went. It still goes to the people that were supposed to profit, and it still is going to be used for the overall goal for why this scheme would have even been ran in the first place. But Nick Shirley, I mean, you can say he's an independent reporter, but he's got a Polymarket fucking sweatshirt on after, the next day after his videos go viral, he's wearing a Polymarket fucking sweatshirt. So yeah, he's independent, but he's doing fucking marketing for Polymarket on his sweatshirt. No one just wears a Polymarket sweatshirt. Okay? And then he has some other weird ties around him, I believe. I want to look it all up. I mean, here, let's see. So, let's just see what we can find. All right, so this is just one of the first things that came up. This was on January 5th. Joni Ascola. Nick Shirley claims to be an independent journalist. He is not. He is a grifter, a right-wing industry plant, and a PayPal mafia disinformation agent. He was invited to the White House in October 2025 and gets boosted by Trump's team and the PayPal mafia. He wears a Polymarket hoodie to show who owns him. His job is to push lies that fit the right-wing agenda. All right. Foreign powers have influencers in the West, so do billionaires like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. We do not know who pays Shirley, but we know he is an industry plant lying for a living. He went to Ukraine to film Kyiv's richest street, pretending there is no war. He claimed he visited the front while filming a trench in Kyiv, far from the fighting. He went to Minnesota to expose fraud that was already public. He filmed the video while accompanied by a right-wing lobbyist, which real independent journalists do not do. He also went to Israel, El Salvador, and the border to push right-wing propaganda. Vance and Musk promote him for a reason. He claims to have no vices, but he does. His vice is lying for money. Do not take him seriously. So I don't know. That's sketchy. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of shit that, goes against Nick Shirley and what he's doing. And it's not bad to call out the fraud that's going on, but who's the major player behind all of this? Because it doesn't seem like the Somalians have a clue of like how this whole scheme and scam is working. They don't, I think a lot of them don't even know what's going on. They're just told that's their job and that's where you got to go. If you're going to come to the country, this is what you do. And then I think there's some of them that are aware of what's going on and making money. The ones that, can actually speak English. So I don't know. But it seems to be a bigger force behind this whole thing. And the narrative seems to be focusing attention on, the easy targets, I would say. I don't know. I mean... This person says Nick Shirley is what Candace and Tucker claimed they were. Real independent investigative journalism uncovering billions in taxpayer fraud. Kudos to this man. Well, it's funny how he picked Candace and Tucker, the two people that, were very, very tolerant, but after so much, they started talking shit about our greatest ally and talking shit for good reason and calling them out on their bullshit. And, it's just weird that they choose Candace and Tucker to compare to Nick Shirley. But yeah, so I think he's sketchy in my opinion. We'll see as time goes on. I mean, he does. I mean, it's just weird. It's just weird. The shit blew up at a perfect time too. What a perfect time this could happen. And, Tim Walz ended up resigning or stepping down from whatever the fuck he's running for, which shows that, something, regardless of who Nick Shirley works for, what's going on in Minnesota is very bad and very fraudulent, and some scummy, fucked up shit has been going on in Minnesota under Walz and the guy before him, Frey, and it's now being exposed. And, whether or not the Somalians get blamed or the Jews get blamed or whoever the fuck or the fags get blamed, this is terrible, because not only does the fraud get exposed, now people are going to go start looking into Tim Walz. They're going to find Coop on YouTube. They're going to see he's a fucking spy for the Chinese. But the Chinese! Tim Walz is a faggot for the Chinese. Handing out little, Mao's little red book. They're going to find that out. Then they're going to go back and be like, well, what the fuck was George Floyd? Oh, wait, there's all this information we weren't told about that whole situation. And that Tim Walz, clearly pushed a narrative and shaped the narrative in Minnesota during that time. How much money did he make during that? Oh, shit, I have no clue. Telling you to wear a fucking mask and to put a fucking poisonous experimental bioweapon into your arm and become a fucking nanobot dipshit. Okay, and then they're going to look into, Ilhan Omar. And the people that, didn't know a goddamn thing are going to finally look into what that scumbag bitch is doing and how she got into the country and how much she has profited from being in this country off of the, native citizens that were here who invited her. And then it's gonna get really bad. So I think he's resigning before it gets too bad, and he's gonna try to get in front of this. But him and Nick Shirley were going back on Twitter, and Tim Walz just kept doubling down as if like what Nick Shirley exposed wasn't real. And it's like, yeah, dude, Nick Shirley might be a Zionist fuckhead, paid for and brought to you by you good old BB dipshit, but what he uncovered was true, and there's not only this fraud, and there's not only these crimes, there are it's only the tip of the iceberg for Walz and, the other people that have been running that state for the past decade. And then they'll look into that governor or that, what should I say, member of office, I don't know what her position was, that got assassinated, that got shot at her own house by a dude in a police outfit with a fucking mask on, who then writes a fucking letter to Kash Patel saying that Tim Walz wanted this to happen. He was going to kill other politicians. He worked for Tim Walz, he said, blah, 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 blah. He was trained in probably some MK Ultra Monarch shit to carry out that whole thing. But that will come back to the surface, and people will start examining that in a new perspective. And it does not look good for Walz, but I don't know what his whole angle is with this Chinese spy shit, so we'll have to see that play out. But everything else, like he resigning to this, young kid, Nick Shirley, who's just fucking, ratioing. He's just ratioing you on Twitter or X every single time you respond or tweet. So, I mean, if Tim Walz didn't look like a dumb fat faggot enough, I mean, Nick Shirley definitely did that for him, but resigning was the smart move. Now, I don't know. I don't know what happens next there. I don't know who they put in to run the play. I have no clue. I mean, I'll look up Tim Walz because I think he. All right, so. I mean, we didn't. I haven't even talked about what happened yesterday in Minnesota, where the ICE agent literally shot a white fucking lesbian and killed her because she was driving away, or they said she was trying to run him over. I don't know. It's a little weird that he fucking. Not a good look that you shot a white lesbian. I'll tell you that. Not a good look that you shot a white stud bitch. If it was Somali, it would have worked out a lot better for that ICE agent. But it's still crazy nonetheless that people are just firing shots now at citizens. I get she drove away and was coming at. I don't know. She's coming at you with a car. I have no clue. It's a citizen reacting to a really shitty situation, and she gets fucking popped twice. Now, she was a mother. A lot of people are saying, what was she doing at these fucking protests that don't involve her? Instead of, being at home taking care of her kids, two of which aren't in her custody. They're in one of her ex-partner's custody, but one of them was. So it's like, all right, they're going to use this mother aspect, but she wasn't being a mother at the time. Her girlfriend or whoever her partner was literally outside the vehicle watching it all happen, recording, which is also a little weird. And then it's also weird that this dude just fucking shot her twice. And I don't know. It's like another George Floyd situation, bro. Except this one says, I can't drive. And like Billy said from fucking War Mode, we'll see. We remember when George Floyd happened and everyone had the same angle, same video, started at the same time, ended at the same time. Like you only had that information from the one video that everyone had. No one had any more footage or different angles, but it turned out that people did. And then when it started coming out, people started shifting their opinions, and then more information comes out and it shows that the whole story was fabricated. And I think you're going to see a lot of the same shit with this because like War Mode pointed out, like it's all the same angles, it's all the same video, every video that's being circulated is from the same angle, starts at the same time. You hear the same people, you hear the same dialogue, and you see everything the same. There's probably going to be there's so many people around as a protest. I'm sure there's a fuck ton of other people that have better footage, better angles, longer footage, extra footage, etc., that are going to, kind of, kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together to, give us the real story later on, probably like 3 years from now. They're gonna be like, yeah, here's the extra footage from that dike that got bopped by frozen water. But now he wants to call National Guard in. Tim Walz thinks he's in a war against the federal government, which he thinks he's like some type of fucking badass for. I'm trying to, but okay, so he didn't resign. Oh yeah, he did drop out of his re-election bid. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Okay, well, what's this say? I'm not entirely sure why some people, the left, are surprised to know that Tim Walz is involved with the Somalian fraud scheme. This guy was the biggest fraudster in the 2024 presidential campaign. Anyone remembers Folly Guy Next Door, Schtick? The mask is coming off. Okay. Yeah, so that's Tim Walz, and that's Minnesota. So I don't know. Minnesota seems to be the epicenter, the primary laboratory for the situations and the people and the, nationwide stories that lead to the degradation of the US and the total, destruction of the culture that we've built here, and the, let's say, civil order that's been a part of the culture for decades now. Decades on decades on decades. Minnesota seems to be the primary creator of this chaos that is destroying that shit that the US has been known for, what the US has built their reputation on, their culture on. Everything that the US has created and was known for, not anymore, but known for, has been ruined by, chaos, essentially. That's how you could put it. It's just been chaos, but it's been chaos from all different angles, and it's been orchestrated chaos that was carried out by people in positions of power that allowed this chaos to, get to a point to where it could destroy the culture and the fabric of the United States and what it means to be the United States. And, that immigration, I would say social engineering in the schools, I would say, just neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, the conditioning going on in schools to make you hate America, to make you hate guns, to make you hate your rights, to make you like foreigners more than your own people, bring them in, treat them as if they're angels, and that worked out very shitty for us. Drugs have been, flooding the country, just absolutely demolishing cities. That didn't help. And then you got birth control running rampant. You have everyone wants to go to college and then work in an office job and be, some type of executive, including women, which caused our birth rate to decline rapidly. And not only that, it has caused the ideology of women to completely take a 180 turn from wanting to be mothers, biologically destined to be mothers, like inherently motherly, to a view that now they are okay with killing their babies. Not only not having them, they're okay with killing them. And it's in your stomach. They call it a fucking bundle of cells. They call it a parasite. They'll call it anything but a fucking kid at this point. And not only that, they'll kill it after if the mother's so willing and so brainwashed that she gives them consent to do so, because they would do that. And so that's completely destroyed the country as well, because now most of the people, like this white queer, not saying it was right that she was shot, but why she had a protest against ICE. She has kids. She should have been at home watching them, but now she's a lesbian, queer, activist that needs to be in the streets and treating ICE like ICE is the devil, and trying to treat the people you're protecting as the kids that you're not having and you're not taking care of. That's a huge problem in the universities and the administrators, in the teaching realm now. Not only, all grades of teaching. We have this epidemic of, usually white women, but it's education. It's educated white radical lefty women, and it's not always white, but mostly, that have given up on the idea of motherhood, gone against their biology by taking whatever psychiatric drugs and birth control to go against their hardwiring to be a mother, and now change their whole idea of that aspect of their life and channeled that energy to treating anything else, minorities, students, whatever else in the world that might be an oppressed group in their opinion, like the kids they never had. So yeah, I think that's a huge problem. You have drugs running rampant that are coming from foreign countries, decimating fucking inner cities. You have gun violence, you have gang violence, and a lack of social structure also in many areas, leading to people killing each other for no reason and then making rap songs about it. Then you have the immense psychiatric drug use being prescribed by our psychiatrist, mixed with birth control, mixed with poison filling the foods, the water sources, the water you bathe in, etc. You have people just fucking everyone, sharing each other, sharing mates like it's Brave New World, and no one settling down and reproducing. And that's been a result of the hookup culture, and also a result of women going against their biological wiring of motherhood and adopting the view of it's better to be a working boss, individual, independent bitch rather than take on motherhood and have a husband. And they would actually rather kill the kid than even entertain the idea, a lot of these women, of becoming a mother and having a father support that journey in her life. So you have a bunch of motherless, educated, white, liberal radicals running around with no kids because they'd rather kill them before they gave birth so that they could save their career. And now all these women are running around bored, nowhere to channel their motherly energy other than to groups that are seen as minorities or oppressed, and they treat those groups like the kids they never had, just like the administrators and colleges treating the students like the kids they never had, and they become bitter, old, resentful cunts. And it's not only their fault, dude's fault too. There's a guy problem too. A lot of guys not wanting to fuck, not wanting to go out. They rather just pay an AI fucking OnlyFans model monthly so that they can talk to that and jerk it to that and goon to that instead of going and talking and fucking a real pussy in the real world. So it goes both ways, of course, but it really makes a dick shrivel when a girl goes, yeah, fuck, I have no desire for a family. I'm an independent boss bitch. I don't need anyone to take care of me. Yeah, that's a dick shriveler right there. And you're gonna see most of the supporters in Minnesota for the Somalians after this fraud is exposed are gonna be these types of women that don't have kids, that can't have kids anymore because they've reached that period of their life, and now they got to channel their motherly energy to other things. So they're gonna start treating these people that seem to be in need of protection, but really they don't, which is even more racist of these white liberal women, because they start supporting groups as if those groups can't support themselves and protect themselves. And so they just jump in and I'll protect you. I'll make a sign and run around with my fucking tits out. Yeah. So you're going to see most of the supporters for the Somalians, most of the supporters for this what's going on with the ICE shit in Minnesota and this whole situation, most of the supporters for the George Floyd debacle, all these people are most of them are going to be radical leftist, and most of them are going to be highly educated. They went to a higher education institution, and the majority of them are also going to be white women that can't have kids anymore, never had kids, never wanted kids, loved abortion, and now no one wants to fuck them, so they're bitter, and now they can't have kids to experience motherhood, so they channeled that energy, that bitterness, and that desire to be a mother towards groups like the Somalians or the people being deported or the students in the universities. And they try to protect them and act as a mother to these groups and treat them like the kids that these dumb cunts never had. And they end up just looking like complete fucking retards. But yeah, all right. We're gonna do I'm gonna do a Patreon episode, so that's gonna be the public episode. If you want to listen to an extra episode, extra hour, go to patreon.com/culturalswinemedia. Yep. All right. Well, peace.
Life's barely long enough to get good at one thing.
If that long.
Yeah, so be careful what you get good at.
Jimmy Aipim, o inhame, a batata é uma puta barata. Deixa ela prona, buna, baba que baba de bobo. Transa uma com a cebola, aquele hálito que hábito me fecha. Jimmy Aipim, o inhame, a batata é uma puta barata. Deixa ela prona, buna, baba que baba de